All right, so I'll be presenting on psychological and sexual assessment. Mostly, this is to be assessed to everyone, all of our patients, and especially so when you sense that they may have psychogenic or probably mixed ED as well. All right. These are the learning objectives to understand the role of psychological and sexual history, to identify the key domains, recognize common psychological and sexual comorbidities, and to integrate assessment findings into treatment planning. Next, please. And why does it matter? Because it can be these psychosocial and sexual aspects could be a precipitating or a triggering factor. It could be they are distressed and then leads to ED, and then they avoid about it. They avoid having talking about it or having it with their partner, and then when there's avoidance, there's also distress there, marital distress or some interpersonal distress, and then it can also be perpetuating factor where it sustains the ED as well. So it could be both, yeah. Therefore, a thorough and a comprehensive assessment is needed for us to determine which part needs intervention. Yeah? So it is also that important because this has to do with sexuality, and it's such a taboo in our society for many of us, even for me, to talk about it. When I first came in the CPG, it was quite embarrassing to see the banana and the cucumber and the tofu as well. So this is something that we really need to be able to be comfortable about, to talk with our patients in a layman manner, just that, so that they can sense that this is not something embarrassing and shy to talk about, but something that is normal, and we need to talk about it in order to find treatment to it. Yeah. Next, please. So the important aspects of evaluation in sexual dysfunctions is that it's very important for us to be in a comfortable and surrounding, and also ensure privacy. So you can ask if the patient would rather, be alone, or they would rather have a chaperone with you, a nurse or someone, especially when you're a lady, a doctor, and then they probably are embarrassed with just the two of you, or they would rather have their partner. So you can ask that. Be empathic, non-judgmental, build trust and rapport, because this is the way for you to get a lot of information that they've hidden, that they've gotten, they've not talked about with anybody. So talk, tell in Malay, you could probably say perkara ni ramai lelaki alami, mungkin cik juga alaminya. Jadi tempat ni adalah selamat untuk cik beritahu, sebab kita nak faham puncanya baru kita boleh bantu cik. Jadi kami tak menghukum, kami hanya nak mencari punca. Jadi kita cuba sama-sama untuk bantu. Ya? Jadi awal-awal lagi you give that safety feeling that I'm here to help you and I'm not judging you. Yeah? And use language in which the patient is comfortable with. That's the thing. Yeah, kadang-kadang sebab with the taboo, it's a bit hard to talk about it in Malay. But if you need to be comfortable yourself, and then the language come out well. Yeah. So use neutral terms and proper medical terms as long as these are in common usage. Jadi benda-benda macam boleh ke saya tanya jika cik ada rasa segan ataupun rasa tak mampu apabila bersama dengan pasangan, ya, adakah cik rasa kadang-kadang tu macam rendah diri apabila dengan pasangan, ya. Use these neutral terms rather than ada gangguan ke, ada apa ni, psychiatry issue ke, these jargons, ya, ataupun gangguan ataupun gangguan mental, it's so judgmental. So use things like minda. Bagaimana minda, keadaan minda kita sebenarnya sangat berkait dengan keadaan fizikal kita. Jadi berbanding dengan gangguan mental kita berkait dengan kan. Jadi perkataan minda tu, it's so neutral, it's more neutral. Okay, use anatomical drawings to understand patient's knowledge and explain sexual issues to the patient, as this can make them more easy to understand. Next, please. Other important aspects is reassure them that these sexual dysfunction are common and treatable. Dia boleh dirawat, banyak orang yang telah dirawat, insyaAllah. Jadi kita betul-betul nak bantu Encik, ya. Tapi kita perlu dapatkan bantuan Encik untuk beritahu kami kat mana kami boleh bantu. Ya. So start with general non-threatening questions first, like ada apa-apa kerisauan ke dengan masalah dengan keuangan, keadaan keuangan Encik, ataupun ada tak rasa stres, tertekan di tempat kerja, di rumah bagaimana, ya? And then go into the embarrassing questions, ya. Avoid assumptions as well. So it's better to ask than not, ya. Number of partners, sexual orientation and sexual practices ni a bit tricky. You can ask later. It doesn't have to be at first because it depends on the person whom you're asking, ya. If a couple presents together, and we do encourage, there are many but it really depends on the patient as well, if they're comfortable. But you need to interview them separately, that's better. Because they may be very important collateral information that you get with the couple. Next, please. You can provide a chaperone who can help create them if they don't mind. And of course, understand cultural and religious factors, because this very much influence sexual issues. I've had colleagues who've been having patients who think that sex is such a sin, is a really a dirty thing until even after marriage, they don't do it because they think that they're sinful. They feel that this is a really dirty thing, to a blue thing kind of thing. So we really need to be able to talk them out that this is a sunnah, that this is something that's encouraged, because it gives us mahabbah, it gives us love and compassion and mercy to the marriage when we have sexual relationship. And yeah, all these things need to be educated to the patient, because sometimes quite a few times that they've got this stigma towards sex. Okay, so sexual dysfunction may occur in isolation. Often coexisting problems that contribute to the dysfunction are present. Example, relationship difficulties, psychiatric issues such as performance anxiety, okay, and physical illness. So prioritize on these treatments too. So when you do sense and get these from the patients, you need to make some assessments as well as refer them to psychiatry. Yeah. Barriers to treatment, of course, a lot of people will be feeling embarrassed. So do thank them for coming. Thank you for coming and trusting in us. And look, they may have low self-confidence and they may have partner blaming as well. Semua partner blaming. So you sense something is wrong there. They don't want to talk about their vulnerabilities, and this is hard. Kalau dia memang tak nak cakap tu, kita dah cuba pusing, kita dah cuba gali, gently do it. But still they don't want to open up. Really macam psychologically there's something wrong lah usually, yeah. Feeling older, communication problems between partners, inaccurate information and limited understanding of ED, and this is your job to make it understandable and make it common, kind of like treatable, okay, make it safe for them to talk about it, and the stigma about ED and unrealistic expectations about treatment as well. So yeah, we need to be able to help them with these questions. Next, please. And areas of assessment. This can be done, of course, through your clinical interviews and objective measurements on specific areas of history, because this can help you to also ask questions when you see items which are quite severe or high. So when you assess something like anxiety, depression coming up, using screening tools such as the patient health questionnaire or the GAD-7, yeah, or the BAC, if you see, then you will be able to see and also diagnose some comorbid psychiatric conditions and refer them to us in psychiatry. Relationship history, such as the issues, dynamics, duration, and partner's history, communication, and health, because very much important because this is very dynamic issues. Yeah, if a partner, macam it's related to the next one, partner sexual functioning, the female sexual dysfunction. We do have men with patients with ED who come with wives with vaginismus, and thus we have to treat the wife because it's very interpersonal kan. Jadi we need to assess both, is that a comprehensive treatment can be done. Life stresses and coping abilities as well. Do they avoid? Do they distract themselves? Or do they talk about it? So we need to help them with some assertiveness, negotiation, and problem solving as well. Cognitive factors, we need to see their dysfunctional thinking style and also expectations on sexuality and their sexual performance and treatment preferences, because with the self-esteem that they may have, they're not putting in effort, which probably can be treated if they're confident and helped and supported. Okay. Next, please. Sexual related factors such as their childhood and adolescent sexual learning and activities, trauma in the past. This can also be very much making them to contribute towards ED. And then the experience with masturbation, pornography usage, interpersonal sexual activity, and breadth and flexibility of sexual script with all partners. We need to assess all these as well. So be careful with this because many of them have also trauma with this. So yeah, just have it in your mind so that you can cover all these. And then the cultural and religious aspects, as we talked about earlier, and also gender dysphoria and sexual orientation. And then also assess on the comorbid sexual dysfunction, such as premature ejaculation, right? Just to rule it out. Or rule in as well. And background variables, of course, the marital history, children, educational level, social class, jobs, beliefs, family system, and relationships also need to be clear, this that we can understand them better, and lifestyle factors such as alcohol, smoking, and opioids, and substance use as well. And take-home messages, a comprehensive medical, psychosocial, and sexual history should be taken in every patient presenting with ED. Yeah, validated assessment, objective validated assessment is very helpful for you. And yeah, a multidisciplinary assessment and treatment is best. That's all from me. Thank you very much.